bass. Good morning! Good morning! It is Friday! June 25, 2021. I want to thank you for that host. Herbie Like. We hear that you are something like Herbie over there. We appreciate you. Good morning. I hope you're doing so well out there. Wherever you are, wherever thou art, I hope you're able to feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. And you're feeling the front of your shins. And then remembering that you do not sit on your legs. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Network and the No Nonsense Podcast. I'm your host, Herbie, and this is Padawan. Lovely. Moving legs. Make sure you do not sit on your legs. As above and so below. Today's topic. Such a wonderful topic. So thank you so much for being here, first of all. Thank you so much for being here. I hope your body thanks you as well as you're feeling in front of your shins, and then remembering that you do not sit on your legs. I want to thank you so much for being here. Wherever you are you at the grocery store? Did you just hit yourself in the eyeball like I did myself? Are you reeling over the pain, or are you able to overcome that suffering? Or are you able to, what are you doing right now? You cleaning your room? You shaving your face, shaving your legs? What you up to? I hope wherever you are feeling wonderful. And since today is Friday and I'm rubbing my eyeball a little bit, I'm thinking that maybe we could just let the music roll a little bit. Why not? Let the music roll a little bit. I kind of am a fan of having that background music sometimes. In fact, it is Friday, so why don't we go ahead and feel the front of his spine and put the weight of the body into the rainbow arches at all of the times, while remembering that we also do not sit on our legs. And since it's Friday, I was thinking we could do something a little bit different. We'll keep things changing a little bit. I want you to think about, as we're moving forward, the phrase of the day, which is, as above, so below. I've been hearing that phrase a lot lately. Oh wait, I didn't mean to tie my hair up. We gotta leave it down. It's Friday. And in fact, I do enjoy the waves of space as they conquer all. So, as above, so below. Have you ever heard that phrase before? As above, so below. What is it usually associated with? Haircuts? Manonic haircuts? I kind of want it to be like a mane. You ever look at your hair and kind of just want it to feel like Simba from Lion King? Oh, I love Lion King. As above, so below. Are we remembering to allow all of these words go in one ear and out the other as it balances your body? It is 6:17 a.m. this morning. It is 6:17 a.m. this morning, and if you are just joining us now, or if you were there in the future, feel like doing a little bit of meditation on a Friday, but also want to just hang out and just chill, I welcome you. As we're talking about as above, so below. During our topic today, the topic lately has been why conservatives lose, as we've been watching media outlets, both near and far, test their hand at analyzing the world itself right now, and we had our own piece of the puzzle. We add our own piece of the puzzle to all of it. What I want to introduce to you today is a new topic. We might do a new topic every maybe Monday. Maybe I'm thinking about adding a new body map every week. Whether it's here nor there, today's is, are you feeling the rubber band between the third eye and the Adam's apple? This one actually ends up being somewhat pretty cool. Somewhat pretty cool, somewhat pretty cool, somewhat pretty cool. Are you feeling the rubber band by the third eye and the Adam's apple? If we were to perceive the first podcast in 3D, and you're thinking about the rubber band between the third eye and the Adam's apple, how does that make you feel? Is there a rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple? Well, there might just be a muscle there that we don't acknowledge because it is in the inside world. As above, so below. What does that phrase mean? As above, so below. What you see on above is what is actually also underneath on the surface. It could be applied to many things. It's also applied to biblical meanings. As above, so below. Is it as above, so below? In the stream for DLive, hopefully it is. As above, so below. As above, so below. As above, so below. How your body feels on the inside will be reflected in the outside. As you see on above, it is below. As you see above, it is below. If we look up on linguaholic.com, now take that for what it is, because the internet right now, with the rest of the world, you need to take with a grain of salt, as we live right now in a very godless world, as in a world devoid of any agreement towards any agreed morality. So even the truth, which we take for granted, is taken with varying amounts of degrees of seriousness, depending on who you speak to, right? Without this overarching religious or philosophy or godlike culture or any kind of culture that we can all connect on. Well, we've opted to give everybody each and their own space to believe completely their own systems for the world, right? So now we're left with a situation where we're not exactly sure with which truth we can be totally reliant on, because people are using truths to their own measures, to their own means. You know what I'm saying? With the internet and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So if we go to linguaholic.com, we go to one of these things about what does as below, above, so below mean. And according to linguaholic.com, as above, so below has many interpretations. The simplest of which is that whatever happens on Earth is reflected in the astral plane. Another interpretation is that the microcosm, such as the world of the individual, is affected by the macrocosm, such as the society at large. So it's saying that, like, what happens to the larger affects what happens to the individual. Another interpretation is that the microcosm, such as the world of the individual, is affected by the macrocosm, such as society at large. In essence, the expression looks at any place there is a duality. One where half of the duality is deemed above, while the other half is deemed below, and tries to establish a relation between the two. The expression has ties to Hermeticism. It can be traced back to the Emerald Tablet. It is also a core component of alchemy, and has influenced several facets of our lives, including the Christian religion. See, I mean, this stuff isn't necessarily wrong. It's just shallow. A closer investigation of the origins of as above, so below. To appreciate this expression, we need to cover a few main points. First, what is Hermeticism? Blah, 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 blah. Hermeticism is the ancient religion philosophy. So we go to Linguaholic, whatever the heck they're all about. We go to Look at this. Learnreligions.com. You look up as above, so below, the first things you're going to get are .coms. We find a .org here. The reason why you want to look for between .com and .org is because the .coms are .commercials, meaning they're privatized, meaning that there is money funneling in from a private interest, whereas an org usually implies something that's non-profit, so there's less bias implied. But as we move forward in the internet and don't have much language for this yet, we got to take everything, in one ear out the other, as we always say. Shout out JLP. So the first thing you get here in this as above, so below.org is going to be about a movie. Is this 2014 American horror film written and directed by John Eric Dowdle and co-written by his brother, blah, 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 all that kind of good stuff. Movie. Spirituality. The problem is that you can't trust spirituality in this day and age when the current spirituality is to let everybody do their own thing. That is the philosophy, is everybody should do their own thing. I guess it truly is as above, so below, as we're looking at the entire culture of lackadaisicalness of, whatever you believe, you could do whatever you believe. And also, the highest virtue of all is to let every other person believe with what they believe as well. And that's the current mainstream. And so you're going to look online and find spirituality. You're going to find spirituality from people who their main concern is not telling you what to do. Okay, well, why did you go to that website then? To read what someone told you not to read? To read what someone told you not to do? Useless. See, in our world today, we're told that we can't use words like useless. And that's insane. Because in your world, sometimes things are useless. It doesn't mean they're useless for everybody, but you're not God. You're not here to define the world for everybody. You're here to define the world for yourself and live through it. And everybody's responsibility is live that and learn from other people living theirs. It doesn't mean that you're implying that you're God, that you need to say that, hey, this thing is useless. This piece of information I found on internet is useless, but you need to be able to say that so you can quickly move on in your life. It needs to be absolute in your inner world. And so we need to be able to say extremes in our inner world because our inner world works off of extremes. Our inner world works off of extremes. As in, the reason why you can walk and get up out of bed and put your foot on the floor is because your body extremely knows that it will not fall over once it gets on there. It knows that there is for sure a solid ground there. It's an extreme. There for sure is a ground there. It's extremely true. And that's why you can operate and not think about that and not worry about that and then continue to focus and have freedom to do what you want in life. What you want in life, not to what you're forced to do in life. As in, you got this down already. You live in this extreme. As in, there's gravity always. That's an extreme. Is that gravity always exists. What do you think that is? That's an extreme. We act in this world as if we don't want extremes. We want extremes all the time. It's one of the things we want the most of, is so that we can focus all of our energy on the stuff in between that we're not sure of. But the stuff that we are sure of, we want to know that we're sure of it so that we can operate within those bounds. And we're not questioning our actions. But no, we extremely know that our feet plant on the floor and our body will not just fall all the way through. Clip all the way through the ground like some kind of video game or something. So when you're going onto these spirituality websites, and we live in a world where the current virtue is to not tell people what to do, well, you're getting spirituality from someone who doesn't want to tell you anything about yourself. Who doesn't want to actually tell you any extremes about yourself. So you're learning more about all this spirituality, and if anything, you're getting more confused because you're finding out more things of what you can do, but still not knowing of what you cannot do. Still nothing telling you why you cannot do. What will you find on the internet today? Should you look up some spirituality? You are a star seed. Sent here from another galaxy. Do you ever feel like you don't fit in? Do you ever feel like you are meant for something more? Do you ever feel like socially you just do not fit in sometimes? But do you also care about human beings? You might be a star seed, or you might just have some built in trauma within you from trying to people please your whole life. People please, does that ring a bell? People please, stop people pleasing. Does that ring a bell? Do you people please? Do you spread yourself thin? You might just be a human being. You might just be somebody with compassion for other human beings, but sees value in sometimes putting your needs aside. How's that for some spirituality? You're going to go online, you're going to find spirituality, a bunch of people telling you words, but we live in a culture right now where the current virtue is to not tell people what to do. That's the current virtue. So you're going to find on spirituality websites, do more things that are you, but don't hurt nobody while you're doing it. Okay, what is me though? Well, you is whatever you feel. Okay, well, sometimes I feel kind of awful. Well, I guess you're awful. Well, okay, I'm gonna read another book then. Okay, wait, come back. You are amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So how do I deal with all my problems? In whatever way you see fit. Some people have problems with their family. Okay, well, my family seems perfect. Some people have problems with their cars. Okay, but it's some, okay, well, now we're on to something. Some people have problems with their jobs. I love my job. Some people have problems with their computer. Well, it's still my car. Some people have problems with their girlfriends. It's still my car. Some people have come back. It's still my car. And just moves on. So impersonal. You look on spirituality these days online, what are you going to find? Spirituality, but so impersonal. Why? We live in a world right now where you're told you are not to tell people what to do on the inside. You are not to tell people how to feel. That is the highest virtue. You know? So much so that what you'll see first and foremost on people's Instagram handles or their channel infos for their podcasts is that we are the most inclusive, right? We are the most diverse. We include the most. What does that mean? It means that we reject the most. It's the same thing. It's a contrapositive. It's the same thing. It means the same thing, just different words to say it. Kind of like saying, is it cold out here? You say, it's not hot. You know, you're kind of saying the same thing using opposite words, a contrapositive. Right? So we're doing a lot of that right now where we say, diversity. Join us. We're the best game. We're the most inclusive. We're the best. That's where we live right now. Look at Cyberpunk 2077, right? We're the most inclusive. You have the most options. You could be the most things in this game. You could be the most options. What are they saying? We reject the least things. We tell you to do the least things in your life, right? That's the biggest value we have in society is to not tell people what to do. Our biggest society right now is a negative right now. Is to not do something. Think about that for a second. Our biggest thing in society, our biggest value in society right now is to not tell people what to do. That's where we are as a culture right now. That's how weak we are as a culture right now, is that we have to tell each other not what to do. And that's the highest values. Oh, it's okay. You little babies, they can't handle a little bit of truth. They can't handle the truth the way that we can handle. Let's not, you know? The biggest value right now is to tell people what not to do. So what you see is that reflected in all movies and video games. Cyberpunk 2077 was like the biggest hype game because they were trying to people please the most, right? And also why the game ended up being so glitchy is because they delay it so many times because they're trying to make sure that everybody gets a piece of the pie. Trying to make sure that nobody is told what to do, so you can look however what you want. There's no religion, right, in that game telling you what to do, right? Because in our current world, we're seeing religion as this thing imposing ideas on you. So what we found is the highest virtue is to go the opposite direction. Woo! We ran in the opposite. We ran into the complete opposite direction, and we're like, "Yo, it's tighter over here. They're not telling us what to do." Come over here. That's the society. We're like, bam, let's go all the way to the other side. So religion has ruled our lives this entire religion and history and science and rules and math throughout our lives, systemic stuff throughout our lives has stopped us from being awesome in life. So let's go in the, what do those tell us to do? Well, those always to tell you how to do things in life. Postmodernism's like, well, we're going to move all the way to the other side. We're going to be like, you know what the best value is to not tell you to do anything in life. It's to not tell you to do anything in life. It's so funny. We went all the way in this direction. That we're like, hey, religion, science, rules, modernism, modernity, you have failed us. Telling us what to do sucks. Let's move all the way in this direction. So funny. Because we're just looking at it as like, they're just telling us what to do. Because our parents and because the people before us, because they even valued anger at all, and they couldn't release themselves from emotionalism, but rather suck themselves into emotionalism. So not only did they get wisdom, but they had wisdom paired with emotionalism, which reaps back and destroys itself and falls all the way back to emotionalism again, as emotionalism brings everything back away from logic. So what we had a little glimpse of, we went rolling right back. As we see in the culture degrading, as above, so below. Our soul is degrading because we live in the culture. We have to live in the culture. So if the culture degrades, we eventually must degrade with it for fear of being left behind. The culture. And what do we live in? The culture. Where do we get our money from? The culture. Where do we get our food from? The culture. Where do we hang out? We go in public. The culture. It's valuable. Where do we get our jobs from? The culture. How do we have a job while we're servicing? Who are we servicing? The culture. The people. They're one and the same, right? As above, so below. There's no distinction, yet there is a distinction. This distinction might be might just be through time, maybe temporally. Maybe they're the same. They just happen in waves. Maybe they both can't happen. It's like yin yang. They move together. They're the same, but not the same. You know, maybe they're the same, but sequential or something, like a head and a tail. Maybe the front of the spine versus the back of the spine. Maybe they're the same, but not the same. Maybe as forward as behind is for the spine, right? As above, so below. This idea, this duality, right? It's not wrong what you'll find on the internet. It's just shallow because we live in a shallow country. We live in a shallow world where they're told that the highest value is to not tell people what to do. Well, what are you going to do when you go online looking up for advice? You're looking for advice, but what are you getting? What are you getting the advice from? People who value not telling you what to do. Okay, well, what good advice is that? What good advice is that when it's just this person trying to clout chase then? Normally people give you advice because it makes them feel good, also helps them guide themselves, you know, involve themselves with your life, make a connection. But then when the value is being anonymous, the value is not making a connection, the value is not helping you, the value is not telling you what to do. Well, what you get is somebody completely devoid of all the good sides of giving you advice and then completely reaping in all the benefits, the toxic. It becomes toxic because all they're reaping in is all the selfish sides, all the good selfish sides that have nothing to do with the good feelings of selflessness. What you get is somebody on the other side who doesn't care about your life. It's very impersonal. Not only do they not care about your life, they do care about your life on the inside, but they are, by the culture, being influenced to be more standoffish in your life. In fact, it's valued to be less, it's valued to be, it is a higher value in the society to not tell you what to do. So should you look for advice, they place higher value in not influencing your decision. So why did you go on the internet then? We eventually will ease in because the real reason why we went on the internet was to reduce suffering, as everything is, to reduce some kind of uncomfortability, right? To overcome some kind of struggle. That's the whole reason. You're overcoming a struggle. Your reason why you went online to look for advice. You're looking to reduce your suffering, to overcome some kind of hardship, right? So after a while, should you not find the first few answers, right? What was your goal from the beginning? To find answers or to reduce your suffering? For most people, to reduce your suffering. So after a while, even if it's not the answer you got, you see that it is an answer that is popular. Maybe it's not right, but it's popular, right? Spirituality. It's about, say 5 nice things to 5 random people today. You know? Maybe that's the spirituality they want to give you, is something super impersonal. Even if it's not helpful to the spirit, even if it's actually damaging to the spirit and actually creates a higher disconnect between you and your community by creating a canned experience based on someone trying to tell you not what to do. Maybe it's actually more damaging to the soul. But since your idea was to just reduce suffering and not necessarily to look for an answer, after a while, your spirit kind of gives in. After a while, your spirit kind of gives in. I mean, after a while, you're trying to reduce your suffering, not necessarily look for a certain answer. So after a while, if you see that other people are taking heart in this answer, your soul might start to give in. Your spirit might start to give in. I mean, there are other things you have to worry about. You got to go pick up the kids. You got to hang out with the family. You got to go talk with a brother. We understand. You got to go practice piano. You got to do all these things in life that you want to do. You can't spend all of your days on one answer. So you got to pick and choose your battles. This internet's a dangerous thing. You can keep looking for answers. We do all want answers. Obviously, we want answers because we want to reduce suffering. But what we really want is to reduce suffering in the long run. But looking on the internet, searching for things that will help us spiritually for the moment, but aren't real answers, but are actual shallow answers just meant to appease you for the moment, but aren't actually meant to tell you what to do, to guide you how to reduce suffering on your own in the future without these dogmatic words, these emotional words that they give you, trying to like massage your back emotionally, but not actually give you advice on what to do in your life, like putting the weight of the spine down the front of the spine, or putting the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. If they're not giving you advice like that, actionable advice, they're just rubbing your back emotionally. Well, there's a big danger to that. Because you do look online for these kinds of things. You are going to look for something. You are going to look for some kind of advice spiritually online. Because we're all alone in this body, right? But that's not a bad thing. But you might think it's a bad thing, so you might go online. You might go online and you might try to find some advice on what it feels like to be a human, and what you should be doing and how you should feel better. But what you would get right now is a society of people who value not telling you what to do. So you'll get a bunch of loose-handed, impersonal, fast food spirituality. Massage you emotionally right now, tell you how great of a star seed you are, how great of an outside being, this great star seed you are, this great outer world being that is perfect as you are, and all the suffering you're going through is fake, and people who don't understand your true value, well, they're just non-believers. Just really impersonal spirituality. Makes you feel good for now, makes you feel like it's like an emotional massage, let's say. An emotional happy ending. Might be dangerous. Why is that dangerous? Well, it might be making you overcome right now. Kind of like pornography might help you overcome right now, but isn't actually applying any teaching tools for you to bring with you any tools to overcome anything in the future. As in, how might that happen? Well, it might happen by telling you advice on what you might do, as opposed to valuing simply not telling you what to do at all. It might be not valuable to not tell you what to do at all. As you get advice from these spirituality gurus online. Have you ever gone to these spirituality gurus online and see what they tell you? Just be your wonderful self, your authentic self. What does that mean? Well, it just means do what you feel. What the heck? Okay. Thank you. Just gives you like permission to do whatever you wanted to do. All right, well, thank you. And then when you get to that next moment, how are you going to handle that next moment? Well, just do whatever you want to do. And then you end up, well, you're going to do that at the bar? Well, you know, all this loose spirituality because we live in a world where we're telling each other not what to do. No, and we value that highest because we lived in a world where we had religion and dogma and even science and modernism, even modernity was thrust upon our generation with emotionalism, and that being the issue. As we rejected that entirely, we went towards an entire philosophy of valuing things, of valuing ideas that tell you what not to do. Problem is that that was a shallow read on what was going on because science, modernity, religion, what they were originally trying to do is to guide you towards overcoming suffering in life. But when it's thrust upon you with anger, the message gets twisted and you focus on the anger itself. So you associate the idea of people telling you what to do with the act of suffering itself, which counteracts the idea of these facts and this logic and these wisdoms helping you overcome suffering. So it undermined its own point, and we focused on the anger, and we ran away from the idea of telling people what to do because we associated with anger. What we needed to do is realize that we needed to divorce ourselves from anger, not telling people what to do, but the anger that came along with it from the generation above us. So we can now integrate the wisdom from the past. Should we see that all anger is bad, all emotionalism distracts you from the point because it makes the moment about the emotionalism, about the survival. Emotionalism is associated in our subconscious and unconscious with survival. So when things get emotional, they become about the survival of a human being. So no longer is logic fair. No wonder we cannot have decent conversations because when the emotions get involved, should you go against the emotion, even if you are in the right about the logic, but if you are making someone less pleasant in their experience and you're going against their emotion, then you are now in the wrong because we value the emotion the highest because we recognize that emotion is associated with survival. Not even that you are hurting this person, but that this person is hurting. So whether someone is aggressing or that person is being aggressed, there are two people in this tango. So as long as one person is demonstrating it, it'll imply that someone else is aggressing on them. Easy way to gaslight the world, to lie to the world, to get what you want in the world by manipulating, by using emotionalism at all. What needs to happen is we need to invalidate emotionalism as an entirety. Emotionalism needs to go out the freaking window. That's all we need to do. And the rest is gravy, dude. The rest is gravy, baby. Eliminate this emotionalism. As above, so below. The world outside is chaotic because our world inside is chaotic. We need to invalidate emotionalism as a whole. It is fantastic to have. We love the world. We are here for it. This emotionalism, we're here for it. What do we live for? To feel these crazy emotions, to feel the greatness of the world. But we need to invalidate emotionalism when it comes to telling people about spirituality, about telling people how to live their lives, about policy making about the world, about how to tell people advice, about how to tell people how you're feeling on the inside. Eliminate the emotionalism. How do you do that, Herbie? How do you tell people that you're sad without being emotionalism? Well, express to them that, yeah, this is how your body is. Your body's feeling sad. You didn't do this. You're not trying to do this. You would, if it was up to you, you would never make a bad decision for yourself. You would be happy all the time if it was up to you, right? You're a victim to this sadness, but just be honest with it without hating it, without being emotional. Yeah, this is just how I'm feeling. It sucks. I know. I wish it wasn't this way, but we got to do something about it. But then getting emotional, as in making someone else responsible for your emotions. Ah, you made me feel this way. You're doing this to them. How could you? How dare you? Oh, you're gonna talk like that about these international policies about people in cages. How dare you? Becomes about the emotion. It's like it becomes less about even these people in cages and about like, wow, how are you making this person feel this discomfortable right now? How dare you make them cry like this? Because no one else is saying these words while we're crying. How are you making this person cry so much? Boo, you're the bad person because we value not making people do things in their life. We value not telling people what to do in their life. And you're telling this person to feel sad in their life. Boo, we don't like you because we value that higher. But why do we value that higher? Because the generation just previous to us and their generation probably to them was forcing all these ideas of science, of value systems, of how you should live your life, but they piggyback that message with a message of anger. And that's the real message that we were avoiding. But because our brains are so smart, we associate the two together because they were always coming together. We could not divorce the two. We could not diverge the meaning between the anger that they were expressing and the truth behind what they were expressing. Now, why would they get angry when they were expressing truths? Well, maybe because they themselves didn't understand that anger is something you should avoid. Maybe they themselves thought that anger is the way that you beat some of these messages into you, as opposed to being anger, which is what it actually is, which is the devil, which is the thing that makes you disbelieve all things or believe it when it's convenient for you, when you're afraid of it, right? We believe anger when it's on our side. Oh yeah, I want us to win this game. So this person getting angry about this bad call, it must be true because it's going to help my team. Oh, but then it actually intimidated the other team. So we don't actually know who really won that sport. Or it actually intimidated the referee. So it might have been a bad call. And so now we don't really know who actually won that sport. As in, this anger thing causes people to not choose what's true or to not express what's true because they're afraid. Anger causes people to be afraid, whether you're afraid of hurting this person more or afraid of getting more damage to yourself or damaging someone else. This fear, this anger thing. Because we necessarily are loving creatures, we don't want to hurt people. So when you see someone angry, we know that there's hurt involved. Somebody's hurt somehow. Whether they're hurt emotionally, physically, they want to hurt somebody else, someone else is about to get hurt. Fear and anger are hand in hand. You don't get angry when you're not afraid. As above, so below. You don't get angry on the outside when you're not afraid on the inside. And vice versa. Right? You don't get angry when there's nothing to be afraid of. Well, I get angry at my kids. Yeah, why are you afraid of them? Why are you afraid of when they fail? Why are you afraid of when they fail? Why did you attach so much meaning? Why did you attach your own meaning to another human being? Even if it's your child. Isn't it also made in this godlike thing, according to the Western culture, right? Isn't it part of this godlike creation? Isn't it made in the image of this godlike creation, according to the Western culture? So why are you so concerned about it? It can handle itself. Why are you attaching all of your importance of your own value, of your own body into this little child? How unfair of you, right? That's maybe why you get angry. Well, I get angry at my child because he gets bad grades. Why do you get angry at your child for getting bad grades? It's your child. Didn't you do that? And it's just bad grades. Is it going to kill you? Won't you be able to handle that situation? See, we get angry because we're not sure we can handle those next situations. We are afraid. We are afraid. We are afraid because we don't feel like we can overcome. Because we don't feel like we can handle. If we felt like we can handle all things, would we ever be afraid? Nah, you just be like, okay, I'll handle it at the time. I'll feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine. It's okay. I'll just remember that I don't sit on my legs. It'll be all good. I just feel the front of my shins. It's all good. We live in a world right now, as above, so below, where we value the most highest value in the land is how to best tell people what not to do. Isn't that so funny? That's our value. It's how to tell people to not what to do, or it's to tell people what to do the least. That's our highest value. The biggest game in the world right now was Cyberpunk 2077 with all this hype. And its highest value was inclusion. What is this value? We include all of you, which means that we will never tell you what to do. You're included no matter what you do. Even if you want to go and hurt somebody, you're included. Even if you want to go and tell somebody that they put the weight of the body on the back of their spine. Even if you want to distract somebody from feeling the rainbow arches of their body. We don't want to tell you what to do. We don't want to tell you what to do, even if your thought is to stop another person's thought. Even if your idea is to kill somebody else's idea. No, we include all. We'll never tell you what to do. We'll never tell you what to do because we live in a world right now where the highest value is laying off. The highest value is being uninvolved in someone's life. Think about that for a second. The highest value we have is being uninvolved in someone's life, as we are all hurling towards our certain doom, as we are all hurling towards our own individual sufferings that we will have to face on our own suffering that we will have to face on our own and have to overcome on our own. We live in a world where the highest value is to not tell people how to overcome or how to do any of that. The highest value is to be uninvolved, although we all have and will continue to have problems in our lives. The highest value is to not tell people how to deal with stuff. Think about that for a second. As we're placing the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into rainbow arches at all the times. Let's take a short break as we're thinking about that. That's our highest value. As we all live in these biological machines hurling towards our certain problems that we'll have to deal with on our own. Our highest value right now is to ignore that. How did such atrocities like the Holocaust happen in the lifetimes just previous of ours? Maybe some of ours that we're listening to right now. If you're here now, or maybe you were in there in the future, you fantastically godlike creature, you. I hope you're feeling wonderful, but think about it. As you're placing the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times, how did such atrocities like the Holocaust happen? Man against man, woman against woman. Fear-driven. Did it happen? Did it happen by people valuing not looking at each other? Did it happen by people valuing the idea of not helping each other from the inside, but rather assuming that we're all very different or that we all can't understand each other at least? How did atrocities like the Holocaust happen? Did it come from us losing connection with the self? Losing confidence that one's self could be understood by another person's self? Did it come from that? How do we lose our identities? How do we lose ourselves and become machines and do things that we never thought we would do? How do we lose ourselves like that? Well, doesn't it first start by being told to ignore each other's insides, to ignore each other's wants and needs, to behave as though we have no individual wants and needs of our own, to be treated as a cog, impersonal? How did it get so bad? Well, maybe we value telling people not what to do because we have a fake sense of love. This idea of love, this fake sense of love, is the idea of just don't tell people what to do. And where did that come from? Well, it was a reaction from this religious and modern movement being hijacked by anger. The anger is what we were afraid of. So we rejected the entire idea of telling people what to do, because whenever people told us what to do in the past, for whatever reason, Maybe they were too much. Maybe we were unwieldy. There was anger involved. So when they told us what to do, we saw the anger involved. And so whenever they told us what to do, getting told what to do was associated with anger. But when we're younger, we don't make distinctions between the two. We just think of they're telling us what to do, and anger is the same thing. So telling people what to do must be anger, is what we decided. Is that true? Not necessarily. As you're placing the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all times, am I not telling you something what to do? But am I also not being neutral about it? You can choose to do it. You cannot choose to do it. It's up to you. That's up to you. Whatever you want to do in your life, does it feel good for you? All of this stuff we're telling you is for the sake of you as well. Are you feeling the front of your shins? Are you remembering that you do not sit on your legs? Are you allowing these words to pass through your one ear and out the other? Indeed, our situation was that the generation before us told us that there was conditions. Conditions put on by them as well. They're not God, and we knew that. But it was never in one ear and out the other for them, right? The generation before, and maybe their generation before, and maybe their generation, but for the past few generations, it's never been one ear and out the other. It's always been do what I say or else. But what happens? You associate the idea of do what I say with anger, with non-choice, with negative feelings, with non-choice, which we know to be a very deep, 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 deep sin. Non-choice. We know that. We recognize that. So do what I say or else. Doesn't need shackles nor chains to understand the implication behind that. So we associated this anger, the or else part, instead of do what I say or whatever, as it should have been. We associated the anger with telling what to do. So we exited from the idea of telling people what to do as an entirety. So now you value things like what? The highest value is don't tell people what to do. Because our generation lived in a generation where telling people what to do was associated with evil, anger. So now, good is don't tell people what to do. Oh, wow. The good is to not tell people what to do. Okay, so now you just make them all believe one towards thing that they will never be disagreed upon for. Now you just gotta rile them up with their emotions, and since you can't tell people what to do, they'll never reason with each other. You live in a world where you value not telling people what to do. All you gotta do is play to their emotions now, and you can divide and conquer. Use them as pawns. Use them for your own individual means. These human beings. These little pawns, no guidance. These little pawns in a human condition with actual problems. With thousands of years of people spending their lives, painstaking lives, killing themselves, crying, suffering. Years and years and years of suffering and storytelling and clawing at walls and prisons and slavery and trades and deals and countries going down. Just years of human history, blood and turmoil leading up to this point. All to help you understand the human condition. All to help you. All rejected. All of them rejected. Wholesale. Because now the highest value is to not be told what to do. Even if it comes from the Avatar. Even if it comes from Obi-Wan Kenobi. From long, long ago in a galaxy far away. Even if it comes from the most wise. Even though we only have 80 years of time, and the amount of history might supersede 3,000 years of human beings trying to pass on wisdom from one another, and only having the strongest survive of the wisdom. The wisdom most successful survives. Your lifespan many times over. We're told and we're valuing the idea of just rejecting it. No, we're better than that. We have technology now. Just like everyone before us said when they got catapults. They're like, oh, no, we know humans now. And they got helicopters. We know humans now. And now, well, we got Space Force. No, we know humans now. It's the same thing every time. Don't act like it ain't. You were there in a past life. Don't act like I didn't see you there. We were talking. We were having dinner at this one Greek cafe. You don't remember that? That's me and you. Don't act like you don't remember that conversation. It's been time and time again. We've been here many times. Oh, we know humans. We know humans now. We know humans now. We can rule humans top down now. We don't have to help humans overcome from the inside out. We know how they are. We could just dictate it from the outside in. We got this. Yeah, we've been here before, guys. We're in this place every few centuries or so, I guess, where we get so high on our horse where we're just like, the idea of telling people what to do is associated with anger. Why is it associated with anger? Well, because our parents would always be angry when they would yell at us and stuff and tell us what to do. So telling what people to do is associated with anger. Well, in reality, why were they angry with you? Well, maybe because you were a little Kids are kind of little sometimes. Kids are kind of little sometimes. It's not a lie. So yeah, the parents yell. But they're wrong to yell because then the kids associate the yelling, they associate being told what to do with danger. And so anger necessarily strays your children further from the truth, from overcoming their suffering. The first podcast in 3D. But why were they angry? Well, that's another thing. Is their parents were weak. Because if their parents weren't weak, then they wouldn't get angry with their kids. Would simply tell your kids the truth without anger. Because you can only do that if you're stronger internally on the inside world. Again, you do not get angry should you not fear. So if you're angry, it says that you are afraid of something. And kids know that. So it no longer becomes about the truth. Whenever you tell them about the truth, if you're yelling at them, if you're angry, it becomes about anger. It becomes about fear. It becomes about, oh no, my parents are afraid of something. Is it me? Is it my failure? So am I responsible for my parents' death if I fail? That's what it ends up looking like to the kid, as crazy as that sounds. Gotta reduce that anger all the way to zero. How do we reduce that anger all the way to zero? By simply knowing the truth. And the truth is simply the truth without anger. That is how we get the truth across. Once in the past, we're like, how come these people don't get it? The truth without anger is how you get the truth across. Should you add anger into the mix? Should anger creep its way into your conversation? Goodbye to your point, because it becomes about survival now. It becomes about either your survival or their survival, one or the other, or someone else's survival, one of them. It becomes about survival. As in, you're only angry when you're afraid of something. And you're only afraid of something when you don't feel strong enough to handle that something. And what does that mean? It means death. And it might be a social situation that you can't handle. It might just be you can't handle the negative attention. It might just be you can't handle the idea of your pride being damaged by your kid not getting the A that you wanted because it implies to you that you're less valuable. Well, no, it implies to you that, yeah, you could have done a better job at steering your kid towards getting better grades. It's true, but it doesn't imply that you're beyond redemption. That's an idea that was given to you by the anger of your parents. Because that's what anger does, is it suggests that there's no redemption. It suggests that there's a moment in which this outcome or this event comes to an outcome in which someone will not be able to overcome. Who is that? I don't know. Fear also shrouds that in mystery. So we live in a world where we value telling people not what to do, because our whole lives when people would tell us what to do, it was always done in anger. Because it was thought for a while, a long while, that you could even possibly translate love and truth with anger, but you cannot. They are divorced from one another. They are separate. Once you add anger, you are no longer acting with love, no matter what you're doing, because it's personal. It's about your survival. So when it's about your survival, are you truly being altruist? Are you being correct? Are you being kind to people when you're doing things because you have to? Because otherwise you will die? Is that free will to be a kind person, or is that you being desperate? You get the track that I'm talking about. That's why we got to reduce anger to nil. We live in a society where it's told The highest value is to tell people what not to do. Well, good luck when you're looking for what to do, about your spirit, about how to feel better in life, about what to do. And then good luck living in a country where you get told what to do. And as long as it's by the right authority, people follow it because people are telling people what not to do. As long as it's not a personal to person, people will make sure that they will follow. But if it's an individual to individual in our society, you never tell people what to do. Well, what does that mean? We're all going to be ruled from these freaking radio stations and media conglomerates like we're North Korea or something. Like we're some kind of fallen state or something. Right? That's what happens. Why? How can that happen, Herbie? How could that possibly happen? How could you possibly be ruled by some overlords? Well, maybe we start to value not telling people what to do. Our highest value is being agreeable. Our highest value is telling people, our highest value is not telling people what to do. And how did we get there? Because we associated telling people what to do with anger. And anger is associated with always death and fearing and bad emotions. So we decided that telling people what to do is also a bad thing. So our highest value is not telling people what to do because we saw telling people what to do as the bad thing because it was always mixed with this bad thing, which is the anger and emotionalism. That's the real bad thing. Our parents and their parents and their parents and their parents for a while now, for a few hundred years now, have been passing along the message diluted with anger. These messages of how to overcome with truth in our lives were diluted with anger. And so we looked, as we should, we see all anger as a bad thing, but it was mixed in with the truth. So we saw the idea of talking about truth as anger, as the bad thing. Well, now we live in this weird wacko society. If we see us telling people what to do as a bad thing, we live in this wacko society where the rainbow, the highest value now, is not telling people what to do. It's to have pride in what you want to do and resist the idea of other people telling you what to do. Now, that's only a personal thing now because you don't see the radio as a person, do you? You don't see the TV as a person. You don't see the food and the advertisement in front of you as a person. No, you see it as an advertisement, a flat picture, a thing on a bottle, a thing on a piece of gum, a little moral lecture on there, how to treat people on your pen, how to treat people on the back of your phone case, little text, little billboards in the world. Those aren't people, right? You don't see those as people. So what are you going to do? You're going to take that advice because we're looking for ways to overcome suffering in the world. And everyone's reading the same thing, so it kind of does reduce some kind of suffering because you're fitting in more with the crowd because you're reading all of what to say. You're being less disagreeable. And so you're making less people uncomfortable. And you yourself, you loving human being, you recognize that you don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. But right now, what's the biggest theme in the world? Is that everybody wants to make people feel welcomed. Everybody wants to be inclusive. Everybody wants to value not telling people what to do. So you're also going to want to not be the person who they tell somebody what to do. So you're going to try to be along with the rules that you're told from this voiceless radio in the corner of the room that is telling you what to do. From this faceless podcast that you hear from your friend's room or something. From this lecture, from this ad that you're getting about the military right now, about what it means to value a human being. And you won't question anybody because the highest value right now is to not tell people what to do. And so even if you value telling people what to do, you know that they value not ruffling feathers. And so you don't want to be the person that they feel like they want to have to tell. You know, you might step out of line, might mention an opinion that is not kosher. You might say, hey guys, I like Carl's Jr. And they're like, hey, Carl's Jr. supports this organization. Did you know that they hate these people? And they don't want to tell you that. That's why it comes out angry because they're like, oh God, I don't want to tell this person what to do, but you know, I care about him. So let me go and like tell him that, yo, I know that you value being fitting in. So I'm going to tell you that's the wrong opinion to have. And you're going to be like, well, shoot. I mean, I just valued the truth, you know? But I also value fitting in because right now, the world is about fitting in. So I'll go with it. Sure. How did we get to this atrocity? Well, we lived in a world. We never took that break. Sometimes the words just roll out of sometimes the words just keep rolling on, man. Man, I hope you're with me. I hope you're having as much fun as I was dissecting this. But how did we get to this atrocious point where we value not telling people what to do? And how is that an issue? Because we all have things that we want to overcome, right? Our situations with the people that we're around. But we value not telling people what to do. Our highest value is that. And so we don't want to offend anybody else, so we don't want to force them to tell us what to do, because we know that the highest value is to not tell people what to do, right? So we're not even going to ask for advice. We're just going to go online, get advice from a faceless stranger, so that we don't have to put our parents or our family through the uncomfortable situation of telling us what to do, because we know that they don't value that, right? And also, I don't value that. I don't want to tell them what to do, right? I don't want to tell them what to do, because the highest value is not telling people what to do. Right now, because the generation before us, every time they told us what to do, because the generation before them, every time they told them what to do, it was always with anger. And anger is the bad guy. Emotional is the bad guy because it means danger. It means that someone's afraid. We don't want to teach fear. But if we're telling people what to do, that means that we're afraid because we can't handle them living their own lives. Oh my God. No. It's the fact that we're all looking for ways to overcome suffering individually in our own lives, and getting it from a faceless mask online, impersonal, spiritual advice online that values not telling you what to do is going to make you feel more and more disconnected from the family. And then ends up what's happening is that you are no longer raised by the people around you, but by these maskless advice-giving institutions behind a screen that nobody can hold account. Nobody can hold them to account. No one knows who you're looking at. Everyone's looking at different sources. So maybe they start sending each other sources, but you're still all being raised by other people not around you. You're not being raised by the village who you live around. You're not being raised by your individual lived experiences that you live. And no, I can attest to using the front of the spine and putting your weight of the body into the rainbow arches all of the times. Your own experiences, like feeling the front of your shins. And then you're remembering that you do not sit on your legs. And then as you remember that you do not sit on your legs, allowing all these words to enter in through your left ear, not the right, or in through your right ear, not the left. Your own lived experience of being able to look outside right now as you're remembering that you do not sit on your legs, or in your room, wherever you are. Your own lived experience. We're told that we cannot live in our own lived experience. No, we're valuing not telling people what to do. So we live around all these people who value not telling people what to do. So where do we get our information from? All of us, we get our information from these radios, if you're in North Korea, or these computer screens, or these phones. We get our information from these things, and it's like getting sucked into us from there, but we're not learning from each other, not learning from our own individual lived experiences that are right in front of us. Like remembering that you do not sit on your legs. How could such crazy atrocities happen? Like the Holocaust throughout history. Well, maybe humans valuing and finding really good reasons to value not looking at each other, not looking at each other for what they are, but rather trusting outside people to tell them how they should feel about each other. Because we value not telling people what to do so much. Kind of crazy. So who are we being raised by if we're valuing not telling each other what to do? That's our highest value. So who do we get told what to do from? It's hard to see in our lives. We can only see it from this one point. It's scary. What if we had the whole world to tell us how to guide us, how to get what we want in life? Wouldn't that be better? But we're told to value not telling people what to do. So not only does that apply to us, not telling people what to do, and we can help people, we really can help people, but it also applies to other people not being able to help us, not being able to help us by telling us what we could do better. And so what are we going to do? We're going to listen to these radios in the corner of the screen. Our computer screens are going to be raised not by the people around us, but by faceless screens. want that. I don't want that. I don't want that for you. I don't think you want that for me. I don't want that for me. It's just you and you alone, but that's a good thing, right? You have a superpower, guys. As you're placing the weight of the body down the front of the spine, and it's the rainbow arches at all times. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be back on Monday. Welcome back here on Monday. Back here with your best feeling network. The only no-nonsense podcast. I'm your host, Herbie. Telling you to feel the front of your shins if you want, in one ear, not the other. Whatever feels good to you. Remember that you do not sit on your legs. What if you could feel that good? What if you could feel that good for yourself, guys? What if you could? I'll go on. I love you guys. Down the final spine and into the rainbow arches at all times. See you on Monday, guys.